What's up, YouTube? Robbie Vapes back again, and today I have a bit of an emergency broadcast for you guys. This is all about the Calgary Vape ban that just came out recently in the last couple of days. Want to touch base on it a little bit and tell you about my thoughts, some things that are going through my mind personally, and how maybe you guys feel and what your thoughts are. I'd love to get those in the comments if you want to leave a comment below. Now, I guess there's so many places I could start, but let's just start with the obvious one and go over with what's happening right now in Calgary. So basically what's happened here is we're looking at a ban which pretty much puts us in the same boat as smokers, which for the most part I'm actually not super opposed to, but the problem is I do have some things that are a little bit concerning to me personally. One of the things, for example, they're banning it on, so they're banning vaping on public transit, shopping malls, grocery stores, restaurants, etc., right? And bars as well, and places like that. All of those places, to be honest, for me personally, I actually don't vape at any of those places anyways. I don't vape on public transit, I don't vape at restaurants, I don't vape at grocery stores, I don't vape at bars. So for me personally, all those places really don't affect me anyways. The biggest thing about this ban though that is worrying to me personally is that you're not only banning it in places where you're around other people who may not be in touch or in tune with vaping. They're actually, brand new and they're looking at it from a different light. These are the general public. These are people who we have to make sure that we respect when we're out in public vaping. And with that being said, I think that there's a certain degree of justification to parts of this ban. With that being said, though, there's one big thing that's happening that is really troublesome to me and to a lot of other people in Calgary, and that is they're not just proposing the ban on public places or public transit, things like that. They're actually also imposing the ban on vape shops, which basically means we can't even go into a vape shop and vape anymore. We're going to be stuck on the street or on in the smoking section of wherever we are. And to me, that's where I have to draw a line a little bit. And before I get into too much detail on the vape shop and what my thoughts are, I wanted to go into a few more things that we should all kind of understand about vaping and what's kind of brought this upon us, or how we brought this upon ourselves. Basically, what this study is about and what the reason behind the ban from their point of view is they basically called it an annoyance. We're out in the public, we're basically, pushing ourselves onto people and we're vaping around them and they're uncomfortable. And it sparked a lot of debate from the general public saying that we're not responsible enough to know when's enough. The second thing, of course, is that we're also around children and things like that when we're vaping, and it's causing a negative impression on them as well. Both of those points, though, when you look at it against a vape shop, first of all the vape shops in Calgary are 18 plus, so in no way, if we vape inside a vape shop, are we actually displaying ourselves or displaying ourselves vaping to children in any way. We're actually, if anything, being more responsible being in a vape shop than we are outside a vape shop where there might be kids walking by. So there's kind of that angle of it as well. On top of that, you also have the annoyance factor, right? I mean, people who are just saying that, vaping's, it's disturbing me, it's very intrusive, it feels like a violation of my privacy or of my personal space. And again, all those are fair points in the other proposed bans that they're putting out there. But in a vape shop, if you're opposed to vaping, then you just don't walk into a vape shop. I mean, that kind of solves the problem there. So again, with that being said, I mean, and here's the thing, guys. Anyone who is up in arms about this, or who's who just feels that they're being violated and they're not being given the proper respect they deserve, or things like that, we have to understand, or you have to understand, that we have to be respectful in situations like this. We cannot lose our cool, we cannot lose our temper. We have to maintain a professional and focused image in the light of the public, because ultimately they're the ones who decide our fate, and ultimately they're the ones who brought us, or who brought this upon us. So keep that in mind. I mean, just if you're looking at things and you want to reply and you're very upset or heated, take a moment, sit back, breathe, and before you reply, just make sure you understand what you're saying and the potential damage of what you're doing if you do reply in a negative or derogatory form. But anyways, going back to the vape shop, the reason why I'm a little bit put off by this is because for me, to say someone can't vape in a vape shop is basically the same, or because it's an annoyance, is basically like saying, I don't drink, so that means bars shouldn't be able to serve alcohol. And I mean, if you think about it that way, actually, realistically, bars serving alcohol is actually much more hazardous to the general public than us vaping in a vape shop. I mean, how many times in Calgary alone have we heard the tragedies involved in people drinking and driving when leaving a bar? I mean, when you have a vape shop, you're going into vape, you leave the vape shop after vaping for a while, there's never been a recorded instance, at least from what I know, of someone leaving a vape shop and having impaired judgment while driving. So, and don't hate me for saying that, guys. I know I'm not trying to get bars banned either, but I'm just saying, or alcohol banned in bars either, but I'm just saying, when you look at it in that light, it's comparable because, it goes back to that point. Let's say I don't like drinking. That means no one should be able to drink in a bar because I don't like drinking. Just the same as if I don't like vaping, no one should be able to vape in a vape shop. It's that same kind of premise of we have our own place now, but we're even being excluded from our own place because of some other things that may have happened in the past. Now, Calgary did do a study, and according to the numbers that they had, I don't have exact numbers or anything like that, but the majority of people who replied to that study or the survey, actually, and there was only about 600 people who replied. In fact, I think it was just under 600 people who took the survey, and I know I was one of them, and I know my answers, so all I can say is unless they're misconstruing data, I'm a little bit confused as to how this kind of came about, because for me personally, I've really never seen anyone vape inside of a mall. Well, actually that's not true, because there's a couple malls that have vape kiosks, which I don't agree with. And I think I mentioned it in one of my vlogs as well, where I mentioned about how I felt uncomfortable when they were asking me to try flavors, and I was basically like blowing into my jacket and things so no one could see it. Because the thing is, at a mall, you're surrounded by people, and putting vape shops in a mall, I mean, that may even be the whole cause of this issue, is people walking by in a mall with clouds of smoke coming up. Or clouds of vape, I should say. Sorry, not smoke, but vape. And there is a difference. But again, it goes back to that whole thing of how much damage are we doing to ourselves here? And how much of this was brought upon us by us doing irresponsible things in the vaping community. Anyways, guys, sorry, I don't mean to go off topic too much, but it's one of those things where we have to question ourselves, and before you vape, you should always think about what you're doing and what harm it can bring upon you. And the community, of course, as well. The second thing I wanted to say, and I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I definitely do. For me, when we're being forced to be out with the smokers and vape with the smokers, my bigger concern, I mean, there's obviously health risks involved with being around secondhand smoke, which are widely known right now, and the whole reason we started vaping for most of us, if not all of us, is because we wanted to have an alternative to smoking. And when we're being out there with smokers, we're basically getting their secondhand smoke. Sure, I agree, but in all fairness, honestly, I already vape with smokers anyways at bars, at restaurants, or wherever else I am, so I can't really make that an argument. What I can, however, make an argument of is that when I'm outside vaping with a smoker, ironically enough, I'm the one getting the dirty look from people passing by, while there's people with a cigarette in their mouth and no one blinks an eye at them. They're the ones who have the secondhand smoke that we know to be dangerous, but they look at me because it's different, it's new, it's not understood yet. And I think with that in mind, forcing us all outside now, even at vape stores, we're now in the limelight kind of thing, in the spotlight, where we're basically being judged everywhere we are. We have no way to escape it. The only place we're safe really is our own homes. Anywhere else, we're looked at as being these, weird people who are doing this because we want to show up someone, and people don't understand that we're just doing this to help us quit smoking, or to help us reduce or cut back on smoking. And I think with that being said, a lot of things come to light where you start to realize just how much negative perception there is out there from the public. And I mean, it's one of those things where we have to, again, ask ourselves, you know, how much or how far are we willing to go before we finally find a settling point? You know, for me personally, I'm okay with them banning it on public transit, for them banning it on restaurants and grocery stores and shopping malls. I'm okay with that. I'm sure there's a couple business owners who might be in shopping malls who may disagree. But the truth of the matter is, a vape shop, a standalone vape shop, or, you know, a closed off vape shop in a strip mall or something where there's no, you know, people can't just walk, people aren't forced to walk by to get store to store, and they're not forced to go in or anything like that, or forced to see vape coming out of a store. It's a little bit, it's a much different scenario in that case. And to have those particular locations outright banned, that's where I feel like we have to pick our battles. And I think that's where we want to go with this, and we want to have our focus. Now, I talked about this on Project Fog on Sunday. If anyone hasn't seen it, go check out Project Fog. It was myself, Vaping Heathen, Hank Vapes, Josh from Rockstar Vape, and Matt from Suck My Mod on there, and we talked about this a lot. And one of the things I brought up was these little cards you get from an old Cigalike, which I actually have one here for another video coming up here. But it was a Cigalike, so a vape that looked like a cigarette, and inside there was a little card that said, "This is your pass to smoke anywhere." And it basically was promoting vaping as smoking. This is going back 2.5 years now. I don't know if they still put those in there or not. I hope they don't. But at the same time, it's run by a big tobacco company. So they're the ones, in that particular case, who have put it in most people's mind, or at least some people's mind, that we do have the right to vape wherever we want. When in reality, if you're even the least bit conscientious or aware of the people around you, you really shouldn't be vaping in some of these places. But anyways, I'm going off a little bit here. I don't want to sound preachy or anything like that. I'm not trying to put any vapors down. And I mentioned before, we have to stick together as vapors, and that's the most important thing. Now, what can we do to help? Honestly, I don't have the resources or the connections to really say, you know, this is what we have to do. We have to go here, or we have to go there. I know there's a bunch of store owners in Calgary who are getting together to help fight this and help combat this. And I think the best thing we can do at this point is actually, when we see these things coming out in the media, when we see the articles coming out online, our best bet isn't to overreact. We want to remain calm. We want to show people that we are capable of understanding how they feel, and in turn, showing them what this has done for us through our words, through communicating, through online videos, for example. You know, there's so much we can do here that really will help us in the long run. That doesn't involve us doing much other than respecting other people and our surroundings. So again, what can we do? Honestly, there's probably resources out there. There's a couple Canadian Vaping Associations out there. There's one, CanadianVaping.org or CanadianVapingAssociation.org, and you know, they're a Canadian-based business, and go support them. I'll put a link down below as well for those guys. But more importantly, I think for right now, while this whole thing is in the media and it's at a full stand right now, it's in everybody's mind and everybody's attention. I think the best thing we can do is, when these articles come out, and you know there's going to be more of them coming out as this thing progresses, make sure you take the time to think about what you're applying to. You know, there's an article today in one of the Calgary online newspapers, if you will, and I was reading some of the comments, and I was a little bit surprised at how much people lost their mind over this and didn't even think about the damage they were doing in some of their responses. In fact, I actually went to reply to try and put some positive spin on vaping and put us in a bit more positive position, and show that there are people out there who are, you know, very aware of how we want to communicate us as vapors. And I actually wasn't allowed to put a comment because the comment's been disabled. It got that bad. So keep in mind, if we want to keep this going and we want to, you know, express our opinions on this, make sure we do it in a professional and non-aggressive or derogatory way. So it just leads back to, how do we want to be perceived? Do we want to be perceived as these people who are obnoxious and arrogant and, you know, don't care about anybody around us? Or do we want to be perceived as everyday people who have an alternative to smoking because it's damaged us in some way. Anyways, guys, that's just my 2 cents. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you appreciate it, and I hope you you take some notes from this and not too much offense. I don't want to stir up any negativity around this topic. Obviously, we want to remain professional. We want to make sure we have that image to give to the people around us who obviously, for some reason, see us as an annoyance. Let's help get that down. Let's help, you know, educate people in a proper way and show them what we're really all about, and just go from there, kind of thing. So thank you all for watching, and until next time, YouTube, happy vaping.